The grand chamber of the Galactic Council hummed with the low murmur of hundreds of species in attendance. Ornate holograms flickered overhead, displaying agenda items in multiple languages, while translating devices buzzed softly around delegates' necks. At the central platform, Council Secretary Thaxel, a tall centurion with iridescent scales, tapped a crystalline gavel, bringing the chamber to order. "We reconvene the 12th Periodic Assembly regarding Earth's application for membership," Thaxel announced, voice resonating through the chamber. "After 3 years of evaluation, we will hear updated reports from our assessment committees before proceeding to recommendations." Ambassador Elena Cho sat rigidly at the Earth delegation station. Her diplomatic uniform pressed perfectly, betraying none of the frustration she felt. Next to her, Dr. Amir Patel discreetly analyzed data on his tablet, occasionally whispering observations. Behind them sat 20 other Earth representatives, scientists, cultural liaisons, military advisors, all wearing similar expressions of strained patience. 3 years. 3 years since Earth had first applied for membership in the Galactic Council. 3 years of isolation protocols, technology audits, cultural assessments, and trade restrictions. 3 years of humanity being treated like potentially dangerous children rather than equals. Elena scanned the chamber, noting the representatives from over 300 civilizations. Many were sympathetic to Earth's position, but the Council's ruling bodies, dominated by ancient species like the Duraxians and Volari, maintained strict control over membership protocols. "Before we hear from the Earth delegation," continued Thaxil, "the Volari High Committee has requested to speak." Elena suppressed a sigh. She exchanged a knowing glance with Amir as Councillor Exnar of the Volari approached the central podium. The willowy, pale figure adjusted his ceremonial collar before speaking, his translator rendering his high-pitched tones into measured standard. "Esteemed colleagues," Exnar began, "while we recognize Earth's progress in demonstrating technological restraint and cultural compatibility, significant concerns remain." He paused dramatically. "Therefore, the Volari propose the formation of an additional oversight committee, the Committee for Human Psychological Analysis, to evaluate humanity's collective psychological tendencies toward aggression, expansionism, and technological evolution patterns." Elena felt her jaw tighten. Another committee, another delay, another humiliation. Her secure communicator vibrated against her wrist. A classified message from Earth Command appeared on her implanted retinal display. "Dawn Protocol authorized. Confirm receipt." The words sent a jolt through her system. Dawn Protocol, the complete withdrawal contingency. After years of patience and diplomacy, Earth's leadership had finally reached its breaking point. Elena tapped her wrist twice to confirm receipt, then glanced at Amir. She would need to brief him privately. "Ambassador Cho," called Thaxil, "the Earth delegation may respond to the Volari proposal." Elena rose smoothly, hiding her internal turmoil. "The Council will have our formal response after a brief recess. I request 30 minutes for consultation." "Granted," said Thaxil, sounding mildly surprised. "We shall reconvene in 30 minutes. As delegates shuffled out for refreshments, Elena led Amir to their secure meeting room. Once the privacy shields activated, she spoke in a low, controlled voice. "They've authorized Dawn Protocol." Amir's eyes widened. "The complete withdrawal? Are they certain?" The message came directly from the Security Council, authenticated at the highest level. Elena paced the small room. "We need to initiate quiet exodus immediately. All of our people, the cultural exhibits, our research stations." Amir pulled up inventory lists on his tablet. "We're talking about evacuating over 2,000 personnel and dependents from the Council station alone, not counting our diplomatic outposts across aligned territories." "We've prepared for this," Elena reminded him. "We have 8 civilian transport vessels docked at various levels, ostensibly for regular personnel rotation and supply delivery. Each can accommodate 300 people on an emergency basis. Amir worked rapidly on his tablet. I'm sending encrypted activation codes to our transport captains now. We'll need to coordinate departure windows with station traffic control without raising suspicion. Our military vessels? Still maintaining position at the edge of Council space, as required by isolation protocols. Amir's fingers flew across the screen. But they've been on standby alert for months. Elena nodded. We'll need to leave some personnel behind temporarily. Volunteers who understand they'll be extracted later, through alternate means. Dr. Lena Varan has already volunteered to remain as liaison, Amir said, along with a small team of 7 specialists. They'll maintain our official presence while the majority withdraws. Good. Elena straightened her uniform. Let's prepare our final statement to the Council. It needs to be firm, clear, and dignified. As they walked back toward the chamber, Elena felt a strange lightness. After years of diplomatic maneuvering, endless committees, and patronizing assessments, humanity was about to make its own choice. When the session reconvened, tension hung in the air. Duraxian Counselor Craig, a massive figure with thick, leathery skin and multiple breathing apparatuses, eyed the Earth delegation suspiciously as they took their seats. Elena approached the central podium with measured steps. The chamber fell silent. "Esteemed members of the Galactic Council," she began, her voice calm but resolute. "For 3 years, Earth has cooperated with every evaluation process, submitted to every restriction, and demonstrated our commitment to peaceful integration with the galactic community." She paused, looking directly at the High Council members. "In that time, we have complied with 17 separate assessment committees, responded to over 4,000 formal inquiries, and accepted severe limitations on our technological development and trade capabilities. We have been patient and respectful of Council processes." Several delegates nodded in agreement. Others shifted uncomfortably. "However," Elena continued, "the proposal to establish yet another committee, focused on analyzing our species' psychological makeup, represents a fundamental failure to recognize Earth as an equal partner in these proceedings." Murmurs rippled through the chamber. On her secure tablet, Elena could see the first notifications. Earth transport vessels were beginning their departure preparations, quietly and without fanfare. The Earth delegation formally requests that the Council establish clear, objective criteria for membership, with specific benchmarks and a definitive timeline. Without such parameters, we cannot continue to subject our civilization to an endless series of evaluations with no clear conclusion in sight. Counselor Craig leaned forward. "Ambassador Cho, you must understand the Council's caution. Earth's rapid technological advancement, from primitive flight to rudimentary space travel in less than 2 centuries, represents an anomaly that requires thorough examination." "And you must understand, Counselor," Elena replied evenly, "that humanity cannot indefinitely compromise its development and sovereignty for evaluations that appear to have no end." Ixnar of the Volari spoke next. "Perhaps the ambassador misunderstands. These assessments are for Earth's protection as much as the Council's. Premature integration has led to the collapse of promising civilizations before." Elena's tablet discreetly updated. 2 transport vessels had already departed, carrying nearly 600 Earth citizens. 6 more were in final preparation. "The Earth delegation is not requesting immediate acceptance," Elena clarified. "We are requesting transparency in the process. If the Council cannot provide this basic courtesy after 3 years of cooperation, then perhaps we have misunderstood the nature of this organization." Thaxil intervened, sensing the growing tension. "Let us proceed to a vote on the Volari proposal for a psychological assessment committee. Following that, we can discuss the Earth delegation's request for process clarification." Elena shook her head. The Earth delegation will abstain from this vote and any further votes until our request for clear membership criteria is addressed." The chamber erupted in shocked whispers. Council sessions typically operated on consensus, with abstentions extremely rare. "Ambassador," warned Craig, "this approach borders on diplomatic defiance." "We prefer to see it as diplomatic clarity," Elena replied. The vote proceeded nonetheless. By a narrow margin, the Council approved the formation of yet another committee. This one focused on cultural integration and societal harmony. Elena remained seated during the voting process. As the results were announced, she exchanged a significant look with Amir. Her tablet showed that 6 transport vessels had now successfully departed Council space. The remaining 2 would leave within the hour. Elena rose once more and approached the podium. "Esteemed Council members," she began, her voice carrying a new note of finality. "The Earth delegation has listened carefully to today's proceedings. We have concluded that after 3 years, despite our best efforts, a fundamental misalignment of expectations exists between Earth and the Council." Complete silence fell over the chamber. "Therefore, as authorized by Earth's Security Council and Unified Government, I am informing you that Earth is withdrawing its application for membership, effective immediately." Gasps and exclamations filled the chamber. Several delegates rose to their feet in shock. "Furthermore," Elena continued, undeterred, "all Earth diplomatic personnel are being recalled from Council territories. We will maintain minimal liaison staff temporarily to facilitate a smooth transition. But our primary delegation departs today." Councillor Craig surged to his feet. "This is unprecedented. You cannot simply—" "We can and we are," Elena stated firmly. "Earth has cooperated fully for 3 years. We have decided that our future lies along a different path, one we will determine for ourselves." With that, she turned and walked back to the Earth delegation. As one, the 20 Earth representatives stood and followed her toward the chamber exit. "This session is not concluded," Thaxel called, but his words had no effect. As the Earth delegation departed, holographic screens throughout the chamber suddenly activated, showing live feeds from the station's docking bays. Earth's transport vessels were already in motion, smoothly disengaging from the massive Council station. On the main communication channel, a simple message appeared, translated into all Council languages. Earth withdraws its application for Galactic Council membership and reclaims its sovereign right to self-determination. The Council chamber descended into chaos. On board the lead transport vessel, Elena watched the Council station recede on the view screen. Beside her, Amir coordinated with the other departing ships. "All vessels report successful departure," he informed her. "No interference from Council security forces so far." Elena nodded. "They're too shocked to react. By the time they organize a response, we'll be beyond immediate reach." "And our military escort?" "Earth Defense Fleet vessels will rendezvous with us at the predetermined coordinates, just outside Council jurisdiction." Elena's expression was resolute. "They won't pursue us. It would constitute an act of war, and the Council avoids direct conflict whenever possible." Throughout the transport vessel, Earth citizens gathered around view screens, watching their departure from what many had begun to see as gilded captivity. There was little celebration, just a collective sense of determination and uncertainty about what would follow. Elena composed a final transmission to the Council, to be broadcast once they reached safe distance. "To the Galactic Council, Earth's departure today should not be interpreted as hostility or isolation. We simply choose to determine our own path forward, rather than remain in perpetual evaluation. We remain open to future relations based on mutual respect and equal standing. We are not running away. We are moving toward a future of our own making." Back in the Council chamber, emergency sessions had been convened. Military advisors warned of potential Earth aggression, while diplomatic factions urged caution and reassessment. Dr. Lena Voron, one of the few Earth representatives who remained at the station, was summoned to provide testimony. The slender xenobiologist stood calmly before the hastily assembled security committee. "Dr. Voron," began Counselor Craig, "you must explain the meaning of this unprecedented action. Is Earth preparing for some form of aggression against the Council?" Lena shook her head. "Not at all, Counselor. Earth is simply refusing to continue a process that seemed designed never to conclude." "That is a serious accusation," Exnar interjected. "It is a serious observation," Lena corrected. "In 3 years, despite full compliance with every request, the Council has never provided clear criteria for what would constitute acceptance. Each evaluation has led only to more evaluations." "The process is necessarily thorough," Craig insisted. "The process appeared increasingly designed to maintain Earth's technological containment, rather than fairly assess our readiness," Lena replied. "Which leads me to a point the Council should consider carefully." She paused, making eye contact with each committee member. "Earth's technological development has not been static during these 3 years of isolation. While we complied with all restrictions within Council space, our civilization continued to advance independently. In fact, the restrictions imposed by the Council served as catalysts for alternative research directions and accelerated innovation." Uneasy murmurs spread through the committee. "What are you suggesting, Dr. Voron?" asked Thaxil. "I am suggesting that the Council may have fundamentally misunderstood humanity's resourcefulness. The transport vessels you watched depart today utilize propulsion systems significantly advanced beyond what the Council has seen from us previously. Our quantum communication networks operate on principles your monitoring systems cannot detect, and our defensive capabilities have evolved accordingly." "Are you threatening the Council?" demanded Craig. Lena's expression remained calm. "I am providing context for a new reality. Earth is not seeking conflict, but neither will we return to a relationship of subordination. Should the Council wish to establish diplomatic relations in the future, it must be on terms of equality." The Security Committee debated for hours after Lena's departure. Reports from observation posts confirmed that Earth's transport vessels had indeed demonstrated unexpected technological capabilities during their withdrawal. Long-range scans detected the rendezvous with Earth military vessels at the edge of Council space, followed by their synchronized departure using propulsion signatures that defied standard classification. In the days that followed, the full Council met in emergency session. The unprecedented withdrawal of an applicant species, particularly one that had advanced to the final stages of evaluation, created procedural and diplomatic challenges with no clear precedent. After contentious debate, the Council issued a formal statement. "All decisions regarding Earth's status and relationship with the Galactic Council are indefinitely postponed, pending comprehensive reassessment of the situation. Member civilizations are advised to exercise caution in any independent dealings with Earth until further notice." In practice, this ambiguous declaration left each Council member free to determine its own approach to Earth relations, while the central authority avoided committing to any specific stance. For humanity, the withdrawal marked the beginning of a new era of accelerated development and exploration, free from the Council's constraints. With their advanced ships, they began charting regions of space beyond Council territories, establishing contact with non-aligned civilizations, and developing technologies along paths the Council had actively discouraged. Dr. Lena Voron and her small team remained at the Council station as promised, maintaining minimal diplomatic presence and serving as a channel for communication. Through them, Earth made it clear that while they had withdrawn their membership application, they remained open to establishing new relations based on mutual respect. As the months passed, several forward-thinking Council members began sending quiet delegations to Earth, seeking trade agreements and cultural exchanges outside official Council sanction. Others maintained distance, wary of humanity's demonstrated willingness to chart its own course. The era that followed became known in Council records as the Quiet Divergence, a time when the established galactic order found itself forced to reckon with a young species that refused to wait for permission to claim its place among the stars. 3 months after Earth's departure, Elena Cho stood at the observation deck of the newly commissioned Earth diplomatic station, positioned at the nexus of 3 independent trade routes. Beyond the reinforced viewports, ships from a dozen civilizations, both council members and non-aligned worlds, docked at the growing facility. Amir joined her, offering a data tablet. The Rigelian Consortium has formally requested a technology exchange program. That makes 7 major agreements this month alone. Elena nodded, watching a Valeri merchant vessel dock in the distance, an unofficial visitor from one of the very civilizations that had voted for additional restrictions. They're coming to us now, on our terms. Not because we threatened or coerced, but because we demonstrated we wouldn't be coerced ourselves. Was it worth it? Amir asked quietly. The risks we took? The connections we severed? Elena considered the question seriously. Ask me again in a decade. But for now, yes. Freedom to determine our own future was worth the uncertainty we face. Aboard the council station, deliberations continued. Some factions pushed for punitive measures against Earth, while others advocated for a complete overhaul of the membership process that had driven away such a promising civilization. Dr. Lena Voron attended these sessions as an observer, saying little but noting everything. In her private communications back to Earth, transmitted through channels the Council could not monitor, she reported growing divisions among the ruling factions. They fear what they do not understand, she wrote. And what they fear most is that humanity has revealed a fundamental flaw in their system. Other applicant species are beginning to question the process, citing our example. Change comes slowly to a body as ancient as the Council, but the seeds have been planted. In her quarters aboard the Earth diplomatic station, Elena reviewed Lena's latest report with a mixture of satisfaction and concern. The Council's indecision created both opportunities and risks for humanity's new path. A notification appeared on her screen, a transmission from Earth Command. She opened it to find a brief message. Sunrise Protocol authorized. Elena smiled. Phase 2 was beginning. Having established independence, Earth would now begin the delicate process of building a new galactic alliance, one founded on principles of mutual development rather than patronizing oversight. Outside her window, the stars seemed somehow brighter than they had appeared from the Council station. Perhaps it was merely the different filtration system in the viewports, or perhaps it was the absence of constraints on what humanity might become among them. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council had never seemed so vast and empty. Where once the Earth delegation had occupied a prominent section near the center, befitting their status as an advanced applicant species, now there was only vacant space. The absence was conspicuous, drawing the eye like a missing tooth. 6 months had passed since humanity's abrupt departure, and the Council was still grappling with the implications. Today's session had been convened specifically to address the Earth situation, as it had come to be known in official documentation. Councillor Craig of the Duraxians, still bitter about what he viewed as a diplomatic insult, addressed the Assembly. The human withdrawal represents a dangerous precedent. Already, 3 other applicant species have requested timeline clarifications for their own membership processes. Murmurs of concern rippled through the chamber. The status quo that had served the Council for millennia was being questioned, all because one upstart species had chosen to walk away. Thaxil, ever the proceduralist, tried to maintain order. We must distinguish between process improvement and capitulation to pressure. Perhaps some standardization of assessment protocols would be beneficial. Ixnar, of the Valari, who had privately begun negotiating separate trade agreements with Earth, spoke carefully. We should also consider that our approach to Earth may have been overly cautious. Reports indicate they have established a significant presence beyond our territories in remarkably short time. Precisely why they required careful assessment, Craig countered. Their rapid expansion confirms our concerns about their aggressive tendencies. Dr. Lena Voron, seated in the observer section reserved for non-member representatives, listened without comment. Her position had become increasingly complex, officially representing Earth's limited diplomatic presence, while unofficially monitoring the Council's internal debates about humanity. She had become a curiosity among Council members, many of whom sought private conversations to better understand Earth's new direction. After the session, she was approached by Thaxil in one of the station's arboretum levels. The Centurion secretary seemed troubled, his usually immaculate scales showing signs of stress-induced discoloration. "Dr. Voron," he began, careful to maintain professional distance despite their relative privacy among the exotic foliage. "I must ask you directly, does Earth intend to establish a rival galactic authority?" Lena considered her words carefully. "Earth has no interest in replicating the Council's structure or approach. We believe in cooperation without standardization, unity that celebrates diversity rather than requiring conformity. A philosophical distinction that could have significant practical implications." Thaxil noted, "Our intelligence suggests Earth has formed working relationships with 17 non-Council civilizations in the outer territories. Relationships based on mutual benefit rather than hierarchical assessment," Lena confirmed. "But I would encourage the Council not to view this as competition. Different approaches can coexist." Thaxil's multiple eyelids flickered, a sign of skepticism in Centurion body language. "Coexistence requires boundaries. The Council has maintained galactic stability for over 12,000 years through careful management of technological proliferation and cultural integration. And perhaps that approach served well in earlier eras," Lena suggested. "But as the galaxy becomes more connected and information flows more freely, centralized control becomes less viable. Adaptation, not entrenchment, may better serve the Council's long-term interests." The conversation ended without resolution, but Lena sensed that her words had found purchase in the Council Secretary's analytical mind. Seeds of change required time to germinate, especially in institutions as ancient as the Galactic Council. Meanwhile, aboard the Earth Diplomatic Station, now officially named Horizon Point, Ambassador Elena Cho hosted representatives from 22 civilizations for the inaugural conference on collaborative development principles. The station had expanded significantly over the past 6 months, with new modules and docking facilities added to accommodate the growing interest from both Council and non-Council species. "Earth doesn't presume to lead," Elena explained to the assembled delegates in her opening address. "We simply propose a different approach to galactic cooperation, one where each civilization contributes according to its strengths and benefits according to its needs." Among the attendees were official representatives from 4 Council member species, present without formal Council sanction, but with their government's tacit approval. Their presence represented a significant crack in the Council's united front. Amir, now serving as Earth's Director of Interspecies Scientific Collaboration, had organized concurrent technical symposiums where scientists and engineers from diverse civilizations shared innovations without the restrictive oversight that characterized Council technology exchange programs. "The most remarkable aspect," he told Elena during a brief break between sessions, "is how quickly cross-pollination occurs when artificial barriers are removed. The Tellurians and Proxans have already developed a joint approach to quantum field stabilization that neither would have discovered independently for decades." Elena nodded, watching the bustling activity throughout the station. "This is what the Council feared most. Not that we would become a military threat, but that we would demonstrate a viable alternative to their controlled evolutionary model." Speaking of evolution," Amir said, lowering his voice. "Earth Defense Command reports that the Sunrise Protocol expansion is proceeding ahead of schedule. The Arcturus station will be operational within weeks, and the Tau Ceti outpost has already established contact with 3 previously unknown spacefaring species. The rapid expansion of humanity's presence beyond former Council boundaries represented a calculated risk. Earth leadership had determined that establishing a significant footprint quickly was essential, both to create facts on the ground that the Council would have to acknowledge, and to form relationships with enough independent civilizations to deter any potential punitive action. So far, the strategy appeared to be working. The Council remained locked in internal debate, while Earth's network of allies and partners grew steadily. Yet, Elena remained vigilant, aware that established powers seldom relinquish influence without resistance. "We need to be careful not to overextend," she cautioned. "Quality of relationships matters more than quantity, and we must ensure our actions match our rhetoric about mutual respect and collaboration." Amir agreed. The Colonial Advisory Board is implementing the new oversight protocols for all outposts. No expansion without local consultation and consent. Their conversation was interrupted by an urgent notification. A Council military vessel had just arrived at Horizon Point's outer perimeter, requesting docking clearance. Aboard was a high-level delegation, led by none other than Councillor Exnar of the Volari. No advance notice. Elena noted with concern. "And he's traveled on a military ship rather than a diplomatic vessel. Interesting choice." When Exnar was escorted to the station's diplomatic reception area, his demeanor was not what Elena had expected. Gone was the condescending certainty that had characterized his Council pronouncements. Instead, he exhibited what in a Volari passed for nervous agitation, rapid eye movements, and subtle oscillations of his ceremonial collar tendrils. "Ambassador Cho," he began formally, "I come without official Council sanction, but with the authorization of the Volari High Command." Elena maintained a neutral expression. "We welcome representatives of all peaceful civilizations. Counselor, how may we assist the Volari today?" Exnar glanced at his aides, then continued. "Recent developments have altered certain assessments. The Volari High Command believes direct communication with Earth leadership would be beneficial at this juncture." What followed was extraordinary. A proposal from one of the Council's founding civilizations for a separate security and technological cooperation agreement with Earth. The Volari, it seemed, had concluded that humanity's trajectory made them more valuable as allies than as subjects. "The Council consensus is fragmenting," Exnar admitted after extensive discussions. "Some factions advocate for punitive measures against Earth, others for procedural reforms, and a growing number for establishing independent bilateral relations." Elena considered this confirmation of what Earth intelligence had already surmised. "The Council has served the galaxy for millennia, Counselor. Perhaps it can continue to do so with certain adaptations." "Perhaps," Exnar conceded, though his tone suggested skepticism. "But the Volari must ensure our civilization's interests are protected during this period of realignment." After Exnar's departure, Elena convened an emergency meeting with her senior staff. "This marks a significant shift," she told them. "When founding members begin seeking separate agreements, the Council's unified authority is effectively compromised." "Should we accept the Volari proposal?" asked her security director. Elena shook her head. "Not in its current form. It's too one-sided, and would compromise our relationships with civilizations the Volari have historically dominated. But we can counter with terms that better reflect our principles." "And the Council's potential punitive measures?" questioned another advisor. Amir responded to this concern. "Earth Defense Command has established sufficient presence at key spatial junctures to deter direct military action. More importantly, our growing network of relationships makes diplomatic isolation impossible." The meeting concluded with a clear consensus. Earth would continue its dual-track approach, building a collaborative network beyond Council space, while maintaining openness to Council reform if genuine change emerged. That evening, Elena transmitted a comprehensive update to Earth Command, including an analysis of Exnar's unexpected proposal. The response came swiftly. Proceed with caution. Dawn has broken. The metaphor was apt. After the darkness of isolation and the uncertainty of withdrawal, a new day was indeed dawning for humanity among the stars. Not through conquest or intimidation, but through the demonstration of a different way forward, one that valued diversity and mutual development over hierarchical control. Back at the council station, Dr. Lena Voron received an unexpected visitor in her modest quarters. Thaxil arrived unannounced, his scales now showing pronounced stress patterns. "I believe you should know," the centurion said without preamble, "that the Military Oversight Committee has drafted contingency plans for constraining Earth's expansion." Lena maintained her composure despite the implied threat. "That would be unwise. Secretary Thaxil, not because Earth would respond with force, but because it would confirm to observing civilizations that the Council resorts to coercion when its authority is questioned. Some believe a demonstration is necessary to maintain order," Thaxil continued. "Others, myself included, recognize that evolutionary change may be preferable to rigid enforcement of outdated protocols." "And what does the Council truly fear?" Lena asked directly. "That Earth will become a military threat, or that our approach to interspecies relations will prove more attractive than the Council's." Thaxil's multiple eyes blinked in rapid sequence, a sign of internal conflict. Both concerns exist among different factions, but perhaps the deeper fear is that the Council has become what it originally formed to prevent, a stagnant power structure resistant to necessary adaptation. It was a remarkable admission from a high-ranking Council official. Lena recognized it as both a personal confidence and a deliberate message to be relayed to Earth leadership. "Change need not be destructive," she offered. "The Council's accumulated wisdom and experience remain valuable. Perhaps its future role could evolve toward facilitation rather than control." Thaxil departed without further comment, but Lena immediately encoded his warning in her next transmission to Horizon Point. Earth needed to prepare for potential Council military action, however limited or symbolic it might be. The following weeks brought increased tension as Council military vessels conducted exercises near the boundaries of Earth-established territories. Earth Defense Fleet ships maintained vigilant positions but avoided provocative maneuvers, following strict protocols to prevent accidental escalation. At Horizon Point, Elena continued diplomatic outreach, now with added urgency. "If the Council is contemplating military action," she told her staff, "our strongest defense is to make such action diplomatically costly for them." When representatives from 35 civilizations gathered for the first formal session of what was being called the Horizon Accords, the message to the Council was clear. Humanity was not isolated, and any action against Earth would have far-reaching diplomatic consequences. The crisis point came 2 months later. A Council military task force approached the recently established Earth outpost near the Tau Ceti system, ostensibly to inspect for prohibited technologies. Earth defense vessels moved to intercept, creating a tense standoff. The confrontation might have escalated had not an unexpected development occurred. Ships from 17 different civilizations, including vessels bearing the markings of 6 Council member species, arrived in the vicinity, positioning themselves alongside the Earth defensive line. No shots were fired. After 12 tense hours, the Council task force withdrew without conducting their inspection. The message had been received. The old order could no longer impose its will through force or intimidation. 3 days later, the Council convened an extraordinary session. For the first time in over 2,000 years, its fundamental charter was opened for amendment. The debate would be lengthy and contentious, but the direction was clear: reform, or increasing irrelevance in a changing galactic landscape. Dr. Lena Voron was invited to address the session, not as Earth's representative, but as an independent observer who had witnessed both sides of the evolving situation. Her speech was brief but pointed. The greatest civilizations, she told the assembled council, are those that recognize when preservation requires transformation. The council's founding purpose was to foster peace, stability, and mutual advancement among diverse species. Those principles remain worthy, even as the methods for achieving them evolve. As she spoke, Lena knew that something profound had shifted in the galactic order. Not through war or revolution, but through humanity's simple refusal to accept subordination, and the resonance that choice had created among countless other civilizations that had silently chafed under the Council's rigid structures. At Horizon Point, now a thriving hub of interspecies commerce, research, and diplomacy, Ambassador Elena Cho received word of the Council's internal deliberations. Reform would come slowly, but it would come. "Was this your plan all along?" Amir asked her, as they watched ships from dozens of worlds dock and depart from the station's massive central hub. To force the Council to reform by creating a viable alternative? Elena smiled. Earth had no master plan beyond reclaiming our right to self-determination. Everything that followed emerged from the simple principle that cooperation should be based on mutual respect, not patronizing oversight. And yet we've catalyzed the most significant transformation in galactic governance in millennia, Amir observed. Perhaps that's the final lesson the Council needed to learn about humanity, Elena replied. We don't merely adapt to circumstances. We transform them, not through superior force, but through the power of choice and the courage to chart our own course. As Earth's influence continued to expand through cooperation rather than conquest, the old balance of power gave way to a more dynamic and diverse galactic community. The Council eventually reformed, transforming from a hierarchical authority into something closer to a forum for coordination among equals. The era that historians would later call the Quiet Divergence represented not the end of galactic cooperation, but its evolution, sparked by humanity's simple decision to walk away from a table where they were never truly welcome, and to build instead a circle where all could gather as equals. In the observation dome of Horizon Point, Elena often found herself gazing at the distant stars, not with the frustration she had felt during those long years of Council evaluations, but with quiet satisfaction. Humanity had found its place among the stars, not by seeking permission, but by demonstrating that true cooperation required neither dominance nor submission. The path forward remained uncertain, filled with challenges and possibilities that no committee could have predicted or controlled. But that uncertainty was no longer a source of fear. It was the very essence of freedom, the space in which humanity and its new allies would write their own story among the stars.